in those keys, and then how we can use that new musical information to plot that in Python. Okay, so octaves, notes, we have 12 notes in the scale. This is what the 12 notes look like on the piano. It's a little bit out of order, but if we start with all the way over to the left, this is the C major scale. So if you just bear with us here, it's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And that is actually just running from left to right all the way up through the musical scale. It's a little bit slanted because you can see it's A, B, C, and then it swings back around to C, and that's what's called an octave. And that's why we say in music that there's only 12 notes. That is how a piano is constructed, and then from these 12 notes, with those little black keys, which are all called the accidentals, and we'll get to those later, they basically just repeat up the piano as the piano goes up in octaves. What we notice when we look at the piano, out of order. Okay, so but the most important part about this slide is that is the equation that we get when we just understand that this is how a piano is constructed from C to C. If we look just counting across the white keys, C, D, E, F, and we start to plot on the black keys. I wish that I had some more arrows on the slides, but if we notice the equation, if we're jumping from C to D, we have a C, then a black key, then D, that's 2, that's in red, then D to E, that's another 2, then E to F, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. And that is the musical equation for all keys, for all major keys. For all major keys. And we can see that if we plot that on the E major scale. Just trust me here, I tried to get better slides that had notes, but I must be the worst AI try to generate images because it just didn't work for me. But that in the darker gray is E, and we see the same equation, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. Here's another musical tool. This graph plots all of the major keys and minor keys and how each one of those musical keys are related to each other. And the outside of the ring is C and then G. If we look at the C that is on the outside right next to F, that is the major key, C. If we look into the circle of fifths, into the blue ring, you see A minor, or the AM, that stands for A minor. That is the relative minor of C major. If we plot this on piano, we get the musical equation of 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. And if we plot that on E for E, we get the same equation as well, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2. Okay, so now I mentioned that we have the black keys. So now we understand the C to C structure. We have C sharp and we have D flat, and we have D flat and E sharp. Those are what are called accidentals. Both the black keys can be either C sharp or flat, or I'm sorry, they can either be flat or sharp. That is how musical keys are constructed. There's a couple of other rules for musical keys. You can't have a C and a C sharp, so we have to have a C and a D flat. And then if we're going to start with sharps, we need to keep with sharps. If we start with flats, we need to keep with flats. So now that we know the equations, and now that we know the rules for music, we can plot these in Python. And we start with a data structure that basically mirrors our musical alphabet. Now, it's a little bit verbose because we've plotted out all of our sharps down one column and all of our flats in another column, and we have the natural notes interspersed in this structure, but that's going to help us with those accidentals, those black keys. Then here is our major and minor array. So whenever the user wants to choose major or minor, they can do that, and we apply our musical structure. And then after that, we're just basically going to loop through the data structure, and we're going to continue looping around. We pop off the first note, the root note, and then we add those. We add the possible flats. This is our chunk right here for if we're choosing between flats our sharps. And then we are able to just call our generate scale function, passing the key signature and whether or not we want major or minor in the second array. And if we run this script, we get the major and minor array for the keys that we wanted to generate. And yeah. Like I said, I've just been learning Python for a few months. I had used it prior in many years ago in a job, and I appreciated this time. And yeah, any questions? Yes.
Did you find anything new or different about Python from the last time you used it till now?
Yes. Not necessarily Python, but I will say that I had never, my job has been primarily in web development, and I know I'm going to show something that is a little bit rookie-ish, but I really enjoyed learning the equation for making the actual scale in circular form. It wasn't necessarily, like I said, Python related, but I've lost my place now. I am learning Python for the first time, so I'm basically kind of sort of learning from the book. So a lot of this was new for me. A lot of it was, I will admit, I used AI for help in a lot of this, but oh yeah, here we go. Like I said, I have never really thought of an array with this equation before. And I know that that's a kind of sort of a rookie move, but I had never really used the modulo operator in that way. In web development, I just never need to use the modulo operator. So, so yeah, I appreciated learning that. Oh, I think I might have lost the broadcast. I don't know what happened here. No, I didn't unplug it.
That's weird.
Yeah.
This looks like it restarted or something. Weird.
Sorry, guys. But yeah, like I said, beginner operator, just enjoying this. And I haven't really done very much public speaking, so that was why I wanted to get up here and just try that out. So thank you, guys.
I turned it off on you. That's weird.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We had a couple false starts here with a couple things, but you did great. What? Yeah, they're trying to save power. They turned the projector off on us. Awesome. Thank you, James. Cool. Our next speaker tonight is Hobson. Hobson Lane is going to talk to us about. You want to go third? Yeah. Jeremy, are you ready? Sure. All right. Jeremy's going to give his last talk in person.
I don't need the projector, so
Okay.
that's going to be easy. That's going to be easier than trying to mess with. Let's see. So, all right. Well, tonight's talk is about some of the job environment that we find ourselves in. So how many people are currently looking for work? So let's say out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, let's say 12 maybe. Let's say 12 people here tonight looking for work, and that's about half the room. So it doesn't surprise me that that is such a high number. Let's say we've definitely seen a dramatic turn in jobs. What I'm going to be talking about is some of the some of the interviewing skills necessary to be able to get in those jobs if you can get the interview. There are two types of companies, so it's important to recognize the expectations you're going to be facing is significantly different than what you've encountered in the past. Especially because of large language models. They're only one aspect of this, let's say this current decline in jobs, but they're a major aspect of it. So in this talk, I'll talk about the job market, and then I'm going to tell you how to ignore the job market. So companies tend to fall into categories whenever it comes to their tolerance for LLMs. There's high stakes companies. These are, let's see, organizations where software bugs have serious consequences, national security, healthcare compliance, any place with highly regulated environments, financial systems. Even a small hallucination or subtle error from an LLM could have legal, ethical, or safety repercussions. So common traits are things like strict oversight and compliance teams, air-gapped environments, highly monitored development environments. Code generation is not trusted to LLMs. At most, they may be used for some sort of high-level guidance. Let's see. Any kind of data leakage is not allowed. So if you have a healthcare environment, you don't want your healthcare records, let's say, put up on this, even though a doctor could be able to use that information better to help comb through the possibilities. A strong emphasis on manual correctness, reproducibility, and verifiability. So these are the high stakes environments. Those are using a lot of the traditional software development interview processes. So you're going to get you're going to have a code review session. You're going to have a management sessions, those types of things. Everything that you prepared for in school, those high stakes companies are still needing. So if you're looking for those types of jobs, they're still there. Let's see. So high stakes coding is not done by AI. If you're interviewing for one of these places, expect to be tested on your raw reasoning ability, domain knowledge, and carefulness, and not how fast you can type or how clever your ChatGPT prompts are. There are low to medium stakes businesses as a contrast. Now, these have adopted a lot of the LLM-based protocols. So some of these are vibe coding allowed. Startups, product-focused organizations, internal tooling teams, and many SaaS companies fall into this category. So these are environments where the speed of delivery often trumps perfection. The cost of mistakes is relatively low or recoverable. Let's see, we were talking outside. Let's see, we can ask for forgiveness later rather than permission. So let's see, AI-assisted coding is the norm, not the exception, it seems. So you may not have, let's see, you may not even have a formal code writing test. This is a very different aspect. Instead, you'll face code reading assignments. So that you can understand what the code is doing, reason about its correctness, and trace bugs. So these tests are reviewing code, and we need to be in a process of constantly reviewing code. So these tests might be highly proctored, so no outside tools, monitored desktops. They might be in a Faraday cage. So I haven't seen the Faraday cage one yet, but it might be coming. So let's see. But there's still more about comprehension than performance. So you're not evaluated on how well you you're not evaluated on how well you collaborate with your peers. You're rated on how well you collaborate with LLMs. Can you be able to give a prompt to be able to get the result you want? What does that result look like? So um, your coding power is measured in terms of your prompt clarity, your result quality, the post-generation refactoring, performance awareness. You're going to be tested on your knowledge of styles. Let's say, if you're in a web framework, then do you know what the buttons are called? Do you know what the the nav bar at the top is called? Can you be able to express that to an LLM if you want to make changes? So, your ability to elaborate on coding patterns. So I need to know what the object-oriented based coding patterns are, and be able to express that so that I can get the type of output I'm looking for. Things like, I would like to implement the observer pattern. Well, that's one of many patterns that you need to know about that exist in order to be able to ask for it. Do you have a tolerance for the code reviewing process? Now, a lot of the code reviewing process happened in mentorship of junior developers, and now it's happening all the time in code. So, let's see. We can get better results with LLMs, starting with prompt engineering. To be effective in these environments, you need to learn how to treat the LLMs as a junior engineer and not your final authority. Start by tightening up your workflow around these principles. Something that you can do is ask it to be able to use types in Python, and then use MyPy to be able to verify that the coding types were used properly. So static checking. Right now, the LLMs don't know to do this, or don't have it in their process to be able to do this. So you can write a prompt and be able to say, oh, make sure to include the types, so that I can make sure to check you with a static type checker. And then it will fail. Let's see, you can send it back to the LLM and say, fix this. It will fail again, send it back to the, so it gets more expensive, but it does sometimes give better answers whenever you have types, because the code that it read that used types was more careful about how it structured that code. So, all right. There are several ways to evaluate a programmer, how well they're doing. And so there are rubrics that are available. They talk about, let's see, what type of, or how much you know algorithms, how much you know, let's say, data structures, how well you know the systems that it needs to connect with. These rubrics are all over the place, and they are in every domain. So there's a web developer, software developer rubric. There's a infrastructure as code software developer rubric. So be looking for those if you want to figure out how to upscale in your career. Generally, all the stuff at the lower level, junior engineer, those jobs have been taken. So plan on, if you want to be able to get a job, going for the middle of this rubric or the advanced section of the rubric. If you're going to learn something, don't learn it, let's say at a junior level, go for the mid or advanced. Let's see. So, a couple of years ago, I would have said, I am a craftsman. I want to make sure that code works well, that algorithms were appropriate for the task at hand. And I would build software slowly and painfully, sometimes to the consternation of managers. So, but I didn't understand why they were so hesitant at putting me on a project, let's see, unless it needed that kind of meticulous detail. I also got teams to work cohesively. I used TDD technologies like pre-commit. If you're not familiar with pre-commit, get familiar with pre-commit. It's amazing. Anyway, let's see, pre-commit or pre-commit.com, I think it is. So it is able to get junior members to be able to do tests and then to check that before the code gets put into GitHub or whatever repository you're using. So, and I would say, be careful of whenever you use the phrase "I am a" or "I am a," because it doesn't really matter what you say next. What you're doing is limiting yourself. And in a job environment that you might need to change from being a software developer to something else, saying "I am a," while it can be a focus point, it also can be a hindrance in this job environment. We are going to need to change. And the easier it is for you to change that statement, "I am a," to, let's say, "I have expertise in," it's going to help you shift mentally what we need to do to be able to keep up with software development in the future. Let's say I can say I was not a web developer till recently. So I can say I was not an entrepreneur. And I took pride in those statements. So I'm finding the error of my ways now. But that meant I couldn't connect with those people who were doing web development and who were doing entrepreneurship. And nor did I want to, but let's see, I wanted to work on my crafting code and work on, let's say, have that be my niche. But not knowing the needs of the business hamstrung my career. Let's see, these are some lessons hard learned. Please take them and feel free to laugh. And it's okay, we can talk about this afterwards as well. So, I misunderstood the demands of the business, and I misunderstood what technical debt meant to the business. Let's say, what is technical debt? Technical debt means it was some process that was put in place probably before you got there, and you have to fix it. And then you come across it and you wonder, why was this put in place in the first place? Well, generally it solved a problem. A lot of businesses fail. And a business that has technical debt is a business that's succeeded, that is still going today. That's why you're able to fix it. So don't be so hard on the technical debt. So there's a lot of people in this room looking for jobs. What I'm looking for after tonight's meetup is a chance to network together to find out what do the people who were raising their hands care about. And possibly there is no better time to start thinking about starting your business than now. It's a disruptive time. It is an opportunity for massive change. Let's see, the last time I felt this was in 2004. Let's see, I had gotten my first quote unquote stable job. I would have that job for 10 years. But at the time, I didn't know that. Let's see, my wife was pregnant, 8 months pregnant. We were moving to a new location. She had been nesting. We were going to rip all of that up and move to a new place. And I was responsible. And there's nothing that has scared me so much as that than what I'm doing now. So, but there's no better time to do that than now because it's a disruptive time. So, let's see. Side note, starting a business, conceptual.fyi, it's the fastest way to learn whatever the topic is. So, anyway, take a look at it in about 3 weeks. We'll have the student interface up and running. So, anyway. So, just to recap, don't look down on technical debt as harshly. Avoid the phrase, I am a, and be more malleable with yourself, your goals, the ways that you can participate in whatever companies you get into. And it's time to take bigger risks. Make sure to network with the people who've raised their hands. If you can, they're here tonight to be able to make those networking connections, possibly. So if you could give them the first words in conversations and let them be able to network. You know, this is not the group for me. I need to go to a different group. Bounce back and forth. So that's about it. All right. Yeah.
Could you address thinking differently or thinking creatively?
Thinking creatively. All right. Let's see. John Cleese. Love it. He gave a great definition of creativity. He felt that he was more creative because he sat down and he thought about the problem more than his coworkers. That's how, let's see, Monty Python. Was that, or that's how I can make it a Monty Python tie-in. Being able to think creatively is not, let's see, is getting you to a point where you are bored. Whenever your brain is, when you're bored, the brain being bored, it hates that. It will search for ways and will do, backflips to be able to get you out of this bored spot. If you are able to sit down with a problem, you will come up with more creative solutions. Whether it be, sitting in front of an editor on a problem that you can't solve. Let's say you have to have the patience to be able to be bored and to solve those problems in a creative outlet. Is that getting close to an answer that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think of my creativity and my thinking different. Usually it's driven by a dissatisfaction with the status quo, with what currently exists.
Oh yeah. Okay, so there's 2 ways to be driven, and one is you want to change the world for the love of, let's see. There's some people who want to go to space. There's some people who want to change the world, let's see, global warming. They love the world. They want to be able to make this change. Some people are tired. Let's see, I am tired of the current education system. And so I am the opposite. I do not want to see the education system continue the way it has been. It's a siloed environment. And so I am proposing a more creative solution that can be scaled up. So.
I was also thinking of Steve Jobs, where he doesn't just think of what problems do we have now. He's trying to think of what can I do that people will want 10 years from now.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Away, Jeremy. Can I get you to put up the PyBeach slide? If that's possible.
Yeah.
Maybe the projector may have turned off. I think I put it into your Discord messages. That's on standby. Warming up. I'm gonna try to get you to put that up. I just want to. There's a QR code to scan. basically the PyBeach folks they're running this conference. They're really trying to relaunch it this year. So I want to make sure we do what we can. Are you on the Wi-Fi or are you?
I'm not on the Wi-Fi. I've been trying to get on the Wi-Fi for a while. Let's see. So
This came up. Sorry? Well, we have a laptop that's hooked up to the projector. We just need to get onto the Wi-Fi, and it should be in your Discord, I think. Oh. People are seeing all your stuff right now.
yeah, no. Oh man, screen caps. Anyway, pay no attention to this. Anyway,
Are you on the Qualcomm Hall?
no, I can't get on that one. I don't have a username.
Oh, no, it's Qualcomm Hall. It's wide open.
Never mind.
Should just connect, hopefully. Oh, it warns you that it's an unsecured network? What's the world come to?
All right.
Did it do it? No. Well,
Well, it's not,
it looks like you're on the Wi-Fi, though.
it does appear that way.
Did Discord, like, fail or something? Oh, no, there it is. So it should be in me. Yeah, and then this. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Awesome. Yeah, just wanted to mention this. These guys are they're really trying to make this conference work. So I'm really trying to promote it as much as I can. They're looking for speakers. They're looking for sponsors. They're looking for volunteers, everything. The conference, it had kind of a big launch a number of years ago. I think it was even on I think it was in 2020 or something. I think it was on the leap year day, I think that year. So yeah, they're really trying to make it work. So whatever you can do for them, awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All
Thanks.
right.
And thank you, Jeremy, for speaking and everything. Oh, I should probably put this on the live stream because I think I have this not on full screen. I have it on full screen for you. There we go. All right. So we'll put it up there for a minute and then, or for 30 seconds, and then we'll be good. I guess maybe. I mean, I think at this point we're good.
Yeah.
You were done with questions, right?
Yeah, I was done.
Okay. Awesome.
Make sure to talk tonight about passions amongst people who are here. Maybe you want to change the world because of a love of something. Maybe you want to change the world because of a hate of something. Let's see. Either way, let everybody know what you're passionate about so that other people can help you network as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so the networking, how is this going to happen here? In person, or are you looking to establish a group?
Let's see. We can have the group meet or groups meet up on Discord. So here it's just it's going to be the Wild West. So if you want to find out about people's passions and that kind of thing, but we're going to have some time afterwards. So we're not going to get kicked out of Qualcomm right on the hour because we've got 3 speakers tonight.
Yeah.
So
I think we're good.
yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful. All right.
All right. The last speaker tonight is Hobson. Hobson Lane is going to talk to us about make learning Python more fun. Is that still the topic?
Yes,
And
for a change.
all right, you're still stepping on it. You're stepping on it. All right. Okay. And then hopefully the magic just happens. It looks like.
There we go.
Okay. And are you, you'll figure it out whether you're on here or whatever you want to do.
If I can get control of my mouse. It's been, the problem is,
That's the live stream mic. But if we just do this, you'll be okay.
I can't regain control of my mouse. Does anybody have a mouse? I'm afraid it's just not. I might have to use your laptop.
Can't use my laptop, but you can use my mouse. Have that, and then have to turn it on. And then it should just work.
Nothing has just worked on my laptop today.
You know, man.
Woo!
Look at that.
Wow.
Look at that.
Come on. Trying to be, let's do. Okay, we'll just have to do it the old-fashioned way. So before we get started, what sounds more fun, IPython Quest or Python Quest? Does anybody have any associations with Python Quest?
Only when I'm choking.
What about Python Quest? Cool. It's an old television show, cartoon, but it's my generation, not yours. So I'm going to first talk about the goal of the project, Python Quest now, since at least y'all had a pretty good feel for that word. But right now it's a pip package, pip install IPython Quest at the moment. I'm going to talk a little bit about intelligent automation, and back to Jeremy's talk. I have been through some of the same things that he's been through, including his recent attempt at creating sort of an entrepreneurship in education. And I've come away with slightly different wisdom. But I'll talk a little bit about that second, and then I'll have a little review, if there's time, I'll have a review of pexpect and how it applies to all this. So our goal is to build an IPython REPL. Well, what's wrong with the current REPL? Well, I'd like to make it a little more engaging by incorporating some quests, some challenges into the actual REPL process. It's how I learned Python. It's a really awesome way to do active learning, where you have to actually learn how to read code and predict what it's going to do before you do it. So I want to incorporate that into the learning process for my students at Mesa, because they're not currently learning well, and I'll explain why. But for now, you can pip install IPython Quest and play around with it. It's also an open source repo at hob/PythonQuest on GitHub, GitLab. And the main thing that the IPython REPL is missing is not so much the engagement. I think it's perfectly engaging. It's just that there's a much more engaging opportunity for learning out there right now, and it's called LLMs. And so all of my students are cheating. They're not cheating me, they're cheating themselves. They're just copying and pasting. And so I want to incorporate into my REPL the prevention of copy-paste. So I got to do some key logging and key blocking on the keyboard within the IPython REPL. And so that's where pexpect and some of these, and the code I'm going to talk about today is. Another thing that I was originally worried about is sort of fast typing. I do have some advanced students who they're able to put in advanced requests into ChatGPT, and they're producing code that imports this package called typing that will actually pretend, because I'm having them build a text adventure game, and so they'll use it to display characters one at a time, and they could potentially ask ChatGPT to make them an automatic typer. So I might need to detect fast typing on my in my paste detector. So so you might think that it's probably a bad idea, this first approach I had here, but I went ahead and did it anyway. I asked Claude to build this app for me, and just to find out what would happen. And I want to make sure that I don't have too old-fashioned of a mental model of how these things work. And another approach would be to imitate a working program out there right now. There's a lot of REPLs that are built around IPython. Has anybody heard of any? Anybody? Raise your hand if you've ever used an IPython REPL besides IPython itself. Jupyter Notebook. Yes, that's technically. Exactly. Yeah, anyway, I think Jupyter Notebook came, I'm not sure if it's a wrapper for, maybe it is, I don't know, whatever. I'm thinking of something more obviously just a wrapper for IPython. PDB, it's very close. PDB does wrap around it. It does do some wrapping. I'm thinking of, go for it. Juan, what was that?
Are you talking like some of those online textbooks, the interactive textbooks that?
No. It's a good idea. I'm talking about what we were talking about on the drive over here, Juan. So it's a tool that you and I both love that you're about to use to create a website with. Django. Django has a Shell Plus, and it's a really awesome way to learn Django. It automatically imports all your models. It has some built-in commands that you can't get elsewhere. A drug discovery company I was working with in the fall, they had built their own REPL around IPython using that same pattern. So they had gone through the same process I'm doing, and they chose the second option of these options and built a really good drug discovery using SageMaker and automating a lot of stuff in the IPython REPL, which is a great way to do data science. And the third option is RTFM. I did a lot of that. So I prompted Claude with the requirements, and it generated 4 different programs. And within one of the programs, it provided 3 different approaches. It generated more than 2,000 lines, about 1,000 lines of code and about 1,000 lines of explanation. Not very helpful. In the end, the program that I want to use is less than 100 lines. All 4 of them were broken, and I'll show the 4 fixes that I made to one of them, because I didn't have time to try to fix all of them. So I tried to fix one of them, and I got pretty much along the way, and I'll show you a little bit of that. None of them were portable to my students' laptops. Most of my students are on Windows, and none of them would have worked there. Very not best practice code that Claude was generating for me. It had semantic, syntactic, and logic errors throughout. It asked for a non-existent prompt toolkit key. The space bar it thought was a special key. And so it had a keys.space, a special key detector. It also, and of course that failed. It disabled, and the reason, just a quick note about why it comes up with these things. It's not hallucinating, it's just guessing. And it's guessing at all of the interfaces of the package keys, which is a keylogger, and a package in Python. And it's doing a semantic match, and it knows that it has read a lot of code that says there's a backspace key that does have some special behavior, that does need its own special key in this keys library, and it is an attribute of the keys object. And so it just semantically generalized from that to assume if there's a backspace, there must be a forward space, and if there's a forward space, it's probably called space. And so it just made up an entire function call and attribute property that wasn't there. It disabled some of the printable characters, so I couldn't type them in the REPL. In addition to the special keys that I wanted to disable, it disabled some printable characters. I'll show you the code that did that. It only detected control V, the paste on my particular REPL. It did not detect all the ways you can paste code in a REPL. It ignored mouse pastes as well. And I figured out how to do all that really quickly by RTFMing. So it's spaced out on the space key. I've already talked about that. And it also messed up on the printable characters. So hopefully I've got that the code for that one here. Yeah, it decided it's a great idea to just enumerate all the characters it can think of in the printable characters, instead of using obviously the string package, which has a printable. And in line with what Jeremy was talking about, one of the great interview questions that that's coming up now, I think you mentioned it today or last Saturday at the Meetup group. You'll often be asked, what's your favorite built-in standard library module? So be prepared for that question and don't answer with the answer requests because it's not built in. Know the terminology. To Jeremy's point, know terminology. Actually understand things. Don't just be able to query an LLM. And so strings obviously is a built-in package. Here's that backspace and enter. Let's see. Oops. That's not very useful. Okay. Here's the Control V bug and how I fixed it. I just added some additional keys that it needs to detect. So keys.insert, keys.control-insert, and shift insert. All the different students can get really creative when they need to be. And it turns out I found a bracketed paste key, and that captures all of them in one key, including the mouse strokes. So that turned out to be the proper way to prevent pasting in a REPL app, and it'll be really hard for my students to get around that one, I hope. But in the course of all this, I had to discover more about the keys package, and so I had Claude build me a simpler app to just display the keystrokes in this keys package, so that I could know so I could try it out and see when I was able to paste what was the key that I hit that caused that to happen, and that's how I found this this bracketed paste option. You can see it here. Oops, oh, that's not good. Yeah, this bracketed paste attribute of keys, that was helpful. So it can sometimes be helpful on simple challenges. I did find bugs in this one before, but I did get it working pretty quickly. Now let's go on to some more intelligent agents that you should incorporate into your pipeline. This is another one that Moana and I were talking about today. It's our favorite, UV. Anybody heard of UV? Anybody heard of what it replaced? Yeah, it replaced everything. Yeah, you're right. I'll get to what it was. It was modeled after one particular thing, and I'll explain what that was in a second. The source command, I'm going to show you some gotchas with the source command. If anybody's on Bash, that killed a day of my time. And MK slides is the package that I use to create these slides. I'm not sure I'm going to talk much about that. And start IPython is what they use within Django Shell Plus, within this workbench for drug discovery, within most Python wrappers. So it turns out IPython has a lot of ways to monkey patch it to do what you want. So PDM is pretty clever, but UV is intelligent. So this is real intelligent agents. They're going out and doing stuff in a repeatable, reproducible, reliable way that's automating a lot of the drudgery that you would otherwise have to do yourself. This is real AI. This is good old-fashioned AI. This is GoFi. And I encourage you to use it. UV is super smart. And it's even smarter than PDM, which was the most modern package manager before UV came out. And they have implemented the API for both PDM as well as pip and all the legacy stuff. So you don't have to learn anything new. You don't have to learn how to pip install something differently. You just put UV in front of pip install and it'll work. It'll work exactly as well, and it will work 1,000 times faster. How is that possible? How is it able to get around all of that? Well, it's not downloading files. So pip itself is pretty smart about caching. UV is even smarter, but that's only a small fraction of what it spends its time doing. Well, that's a big part of what it spends its time doing, but it saved that, but it also saved, it's not even copying files. You're creating completely separate environments that are completely isolated, and you can install different versions of stuff and different Pythons. It'll even manage your Python versions without copying files. You can run a different set of Python, different set of packages without copying files. Anybody know how that magic works? How can you create a different folder structure without copying files on a Linux system? Let's see. David and Jeremy, you guys are the experts. Anybody else? Yes? No, very close though. What's the other kind of link? Symbolic links only really work for folders. Exactly. Because you use hard links. Anyway, they're magic. And you should use them a lot. You got to use them smartly, and this is where an AI would F this up horribly on your laptop. But if you turn loose UV on your laptop, you can be 100% safe and confident in its results. At least I've been using it for a year and loving it. So has Juan. So has a lot of other really high performance developers that I know. Nichols, I don't know if you know, he just moved up to DC to get a job, to Seattle to get a job. Let's see. So just put alias pip equals UV pip and you're good to go. Everything will happen in milliseconds instead of seconds. It's absolutely amazing. So this first one, it didn't have to install anything, it just did the hard linking, so that takes tens of 2-digit milliseconds. You might need 3-digit milliseconds if you have to download a new package, a new version, if you do the double dash upgrade on one of your packages. But other than that, it's blazingly fast. Some other GoFi automation that I've created for myself is this concept of work on. So that I can switch projects, and my future self can switch projects, get in the right environment, have everything running that it needs to be running, like servers or whatever, like these slides. I've got a work on script for these slides. So I just say work on in the project name, and it goes to the right folder, and everything's going for me. So consider doing that for yourself. Whenever you learn a lesson, and this lesson that I'm going to tell you about right now, like that source line in all of my scripts, I'm just doing source.venv in order to activate my environments. I use source a lot in all of my scripts, including source.env. So source.venv/, that'll work great, but source.env will not. And can anybody think of why that might be? Sorry, this is back to the UV. The UV works like all the other packages you would understand. Here's the source.env problem. Anybody see the bug? Anybody know of another meaning of the dot in Linux or Bash or Shell?
Could it be because it's not going to active? It doesn't know how to get there on its own?
It doesn't know how to get to activate on its own. You're really close. I think you know this answer. You've encountered this problem, I think, in the past, because you're almost on top of it. Has anybody ever worked with the $path variable in Linux? Does that enter into this function in any way? This command that you type, source.env, does it use path in any way? Yes, it's not going to source the .env file in your current working directory. It's going to source the first one it finds in your $path and only go to the one in your current working directory if it can't find it elsewhere. It blew my mind, but it helped me discover something else when I actually just renamed it, and when I gave it a different name that wasn't existing anywhere on my path, and it was able to run it perfectly. I was scratching my head for a while until I figured it out and accidentally pushed it to my repo. And then I learned some magic that's happening at, where is it? Who caught that? Well, Aider, I was using Aider, some other AI to, Aider pushed that file. I didn't push it. Aider accidentally pushed it. And that's another reason to not trust it, LLMs. They don't have any, it knew to get ignore my .env file, but it didn't know to get ignore my env. And so it pushed it up when it made a change. I asked it to fix the code that Claude broke, and just to see if I could get it to work. And anyway, that's a long story short. You need to put ./ in front of your .env or any script you're trying to run to make sure that it's running the one that you actually intend. Give it a full path, including the relative path name. And dot means two different things in Bash. It means source itself. Dot is a shortcut to source. It's an alias to source. And it also means the current working directory. It depends on where it appears in the Bash statement. If it appears as the first character with a space after it, it's a source alias. If it appears after the command as an argument or an option, then it's a path. It's the current working directory. Anyway, this is stuff an LLM will never tell you because it will get it wrong itself because it thinks a dot is a dot is a dot. And it has no concept of logic or reasoning about anything, much less something as esoteric as this. So my different perspective on Jeremy's concepts of taking pride in your craft and learning how to cajole LLMs into doing what you want. No, you still got to know how to code. You still got to know the fundamentals of architecture and algorithms and data structures. And there's still lots of room for junior developers who can do all that stuff. As long as you're willing to go through that pain of learning it yourself and not having an LLM teach you the wrong way to do it. The only company that's actually having LLMs set up pull requests and forcing senior developers to do code review on those pull requests to LLMs and having conversations with LLMs in order to get them to fix it and taking all day, like it took me a week to fix all of the bugs that Claude came up with, these 4 bugs, and forcing all of their teammates, all the senior developers to do it. And their senior developers are quitting, and they're firing all the junior developers to make all this happen. The only company that's doing that is Microsoft. And the only reason they're doing that is because they're trying to force people to use it. And they have a monopoly, so they don't actually care about the quality of their software. They don't care about Windows. They know you're forced to use it. It doesn't matter how many security bugs it happens, no matter how many governments. Now the Netherlands is moving out of Windows. The whole government of Netherlands is going to leave Windows because of their incompetence. And they're forcing that incompetence to spread by spreading it with LLMs and then forcing all their competent developers to quit. Because it's insane. If you go on GitHub and you watch this code review process, it's insane the stuff that they are forced to do to explain how to code to an LLM. It's insane. They basically have to literally fix it themselves through the LLM because they're not allowed to actually fix the pull request directly. Sorry, this is another, these slides are a little bit out of order. We've already talked about that. I just showed how I've incorporated this knowledge into my library of scripts that I've been using my entire life, including this work on script. And so you can see that I'm using UV here, and I'm also using that source./ approach. So I don't get tripped up on that one again. One last comment on LLMs and some better ways to use it. Turns out smaller is better. Rely on them less. Aider has a lot of good old-fashioned AI built into it, like that check to see if my .env file has been included in the repo. It has some hard rules, some hard-coded rules, some logic encoded in a computational graph that it's going to actually run on your code that will run the same way every single time. It's not perfect. No automation ever is. but it's better if you rely on the LLM less. And you can run it locally. You can run it on, and it runs all on the command line. You don't have to worry about any of your data getting stolen. And it turns out the open source models are better at this than all these enshittified models from the larger companies. So use the smaller models, use it locally. It'll take about twice as long to run on your local laptop. But that's amazing, that they're burning up the atmosphere when you can do it locally on your own laptop with a small reduction in speed and do it better, more reliably, and more repeatably. So don't listen to the hype, do it right. Do it small. It's probably enough preaching for the night. A little quick, no, I don't want to go into PXPEC. We've talked about PXPEC last month, but I think I'm going to eventually have to go back to using that again in order to have all the interactivity I want, to make it super engaging, to have that magic of characters appearing on the screen in front of the student and forcing them to complete phrases. I think I'm going to use PXPEC still. But so far, I'm pretty happy with what I've got so far. I can block the copy and paste, and I can put up an additional prompt in front of the user and have them navigate, just like in Django, Shell Plus. And this will be a skill that they can use when they go to Shell Plus. They'll realize, oh, there's stuff that's automatically imported, and I should just do a help on that thing. And I'm going to have a help, parentheses, quest, a quest object, just like you would have a help capital M for model, or capital contacts or users for your users table in Django. They'll be doing the same thing on these quests, and it'll just be a little more fun. And so they're not going to learn any new syntax that they're going to have to forget once they get in the real world and start actually using real tools. And they're not going to have to learn some prompt engineering, but they're going to also have to forget when they change the magic words that actually work. Because that's all you're doing when you're doing prompt engineering. You're just trying to figure out what random words can I piece together that are going to make it do what I want it to do. And you can only get lucky once, and you can try to get it to do it again, and it won't do the same thing. Especially when they upgrade it. Questions?
So that's what you really think.
I don't think. Go for it.
So you said you're working with your students and trying to essentially block them from just going to GPT or Claude or any of these LLMs. Do you have any way to enforce this at the CLI level? Because I know Claude has Claude Code now, and there's Codex from OpenAI, so you can essentially kind of run these agents in the command line and have them modify the files without any user interaction. Have you?
Right. I'm going to require them to use the app that I've created, IPython eQuest. It's going to be sending me logs of everything they do. Every character they type is going to be recorded and uploaded to my server. So I'm going to see what they do. They can use those automatic, or whatever they call them, to actually do the typing for them. And I may, if I do see that sort of, I can tell slop when I see it. And as soon as I see that happening, then I will just add a speed typing or an entropy detector, and how do they have the same typing pattern that they had in the past? Or is it just random? Is it too fast? Whatever. I'll have to get sophisticated. If they get sophisticated, I'll get more sophisticated.
What level are your students at?
Junior, just beginner programmers. And many of them are imposters. Many of them are frauds. There's a really good Wired magazine article in the Rogue issue this month about North Koreans enrolling in courses and getting jobs in the U.S. through imposters here who were setting up their laptops with a remote desktop on them and allowing foreigners to earn wages and in the case of Mesa College, earning financial aid money that's going directly to Kim Jong-il. So that's the main reason. I mean, people want to cheat themselves, fine. But if they're trying to make money for a murderous psychopath, it's not, I'm going to make sure that's not happening in my class. Yes?
Kind of curious for clarification. Did you go through all this just to ensure that your students can actually learn? Like,
Yes. It's
the
because,
education system kind of forced you to put all this work in?
yes. The education system is broken, just like Jeremy said. And it's broken even worse at the community college level because that's the first thing that gets defunded by the governments, including the city governments. And yeah, and it's a pay-to-play world now everywhere. And I'm trying to fix that. Of course, this is free. So anybody can use it, and hopefully it'll be more engaging than the current education system. Yes, you're Yvonne.
Why don't you, I mean, if you're gonna have control of the system, why don't you choose, you know, an IP table block, drop any attempt of TCP connection outside of that computer?
I don't have any access to their computer. All I can do is ask them to do things on their computer. And so one of the things I can do is ask them to install my keylogger software on their computer. That's the only thing I can make them
The
do.
only logs went in that app.
Right. I can't even monitor them when they're taking exams, all that stuff. It's all online because that's another shitification that's happened in the education system right now. I'm not allowed to require them to show up at a video conference call at any particular time. There's a legit reason for that. Many of them are working, and so they don't always have hours that line up with my office hours. But anyway, it's broken, and I'm going to fix it.
So, but in that context, I mean, if you can ask them to run your application, cannot you request them to activate your application before they start working on your assignment?
Yeah.
Take control of your system, of their system?
I'm not gonna virus their laptop. I'm not gonna worm their laptop. I'm just gonna make them use my app. It's gonna be a completely innocuous. I want this to be an app that people want to install. It's just a game. You want to play my game? Play it. I'm not gonna take over your life.
Circling back to UV, is that kind of similar to how cargo operates in Rust? Because I'm kind of new to Rust.
It's 100% the way that cargo works because it is Rust.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You can pip install it, but it's Rust.
Very heavily based on cargo.
It's also based on PDM. It's best practices. They built code right. They didn't have an LLM write that code. They wrote it themselves, and they based it on all of they stood on the shoulders of giants by looking at what other really good packages did, including cargo, PDM, and pip itself.
All open source.
Exactly. And they copied and pasted from the right place. They copied and pasted from best practice code instead of shitty code.
This might be a little bit off topic, but have you and your colleagues from the university or from the community college, have your other colleagues also been experimenting or trying something in order to prevent students from cheating the system?
I've actually been attacked out of meetings for my attempts at trying to prevent students from using AI. All my fellow teachers are scared that the only way kids can get jobs these days is if they know how to use LLMs. And so they're using them in their classes. There's an English teacher who, obviously writing is one of those things where if you use an LLM for it, you're gonna really dumb yourself down, where it's kind of obvious. It's obvious to me that it's gonna dumb you down for code as well, but it's really obvious in writing. And there's been studies at MIT that have shown this recently. But there's an English teacher who's come up with some really good ways, like requiring his students to handwrite their notes. So that's what I did this past semester is I had them actually check in incremental changes to their GitLab repo for the code project that I was asking them to do. But what I found was I'll set up, you must have at least 4 incremental improvements to your program in order to get a passing grade. And what they would do is they would copy and paste 1/4 of it from Claude into the code block. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't be an incremental change. They're being legalistic about everything I try to ask them to do. So the only way I can get them to do it is to actually make them play a game that's more engaging, I think. They enjoy cheating. Hopefully they'll try to cheat at this game. And by cheat, by exploring the hidden variables. One of the exciting things about Python is all the hidden variables that are available to you, especially in IPython. Like you can go back through your history and see all the inputs and outputs. They're all recorded in, like if you forget to record a particular value that was output to the screen instead of a variable, you can look back at under or dunder or triple under, and you will find that value already stored for you and waiting for you in a variable that's hidden away. It's just, there's a lot of magic inside of IPython, and I'm going to guide them on quests to discover all that magic. And Python itself, of course, there's the import this and all this Pythonic magic that you can discover that I'm hoping to intrigue my students with. No worries. Is that it?
Thanks, Hobson. My brother-in-law is an English professor, and he had a student turn in a paper that invented a new Canterbury tale. True story. Like, he was like, I've never heard of that one. He goes, looks it up. He's like, that's because it doesn't exist. Anyway, funny story. Awesome. I want to give a thanks again to our speakers, to Qualcomm and to Neo4j for providing the pizza, and the biggest thank you of all to Jeremy, my co-organizer. Looking for organizers. All right. Thanks for coming. We'll be here next month, 4th Thursday in July. All right. Thanks. And this is my mouse. Oh, Hobson, I'm going to need the dongle if you still have it.
Did I take your dongle?
I think so. I'm going to stop the live stream and then we'll do it. Did you? Or did you put it back?
Oh, of course.
The mouse dongle. Yeah, the mouse dongle thing.
I need